system either. When we return, it is game 2 of this doubleheader. No time to dwell on the heartbreak from game 1 because first pitch is coming up next from here at Citi Field.
Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide by WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet, see your South Florida dealer today, and by your South Florida Toyota dealers. All right, so back at it. Here we go. Marlins and Mets, last of this 4-game series and the nightcap of the doubleheader. All right, so the lineups now for the Marlins, presented to you by Southwest. Miguel Rojas, just like in the afternoon game today, in the top spot. Lewis Brinson moves up a few, and of course Peter O'Brien and Isaac Galloway, the guys who had the back-to-back home runs early on this afternoon against Steven Matz, are again back-to-back here, 4 and 5. Jason Vargas ready to roll and in there for a called strike, and right at 6:16 we're ready to roll in the 18th start for Vargas.
Yeah, Vargas making his 18th start of the season, second versus the Marlins, 6 foot. 215 pounds, 35 years old. The veteran lefty has been around a little bit. Second tour with the Mets. It's been a bit of a tough season. Only 2 quality starts this year, as he's been dealing with command issues at times, and certainly his stuff. Four-seam fastball, sinker, change, and curve. The changeup has always been a big pitch.
And Rojas down on strikes. Rojas seems to think he got a piece of the bat, or that his bat got a piece of the ball. And home plate umpire Nick Marley not listening to that case. So 1 away.
All right, let's get you the Auto Nation scouting report of Jason Vargas. As I mentioned, a tough 2018 after breaking his non-throwing hand in spring training and missing most of April. He's really gotten off to a really rough start. 9 earned runs in that first start, and his ERA never lower than 6.5 on the season. Comes in at 6.75 as a base hit makes its way through the left side for Lewis Brinson. I mentioned that changeup, certainly a huge pitch for Vargas. You're going to see it an awful lot tonight, about 30% of the time. And one of his biggest problems is the effectiveness of that changeup. Now, last year, which got him the big contract and certainly got him here to New York, that changeup, 184 batting average against, 288 slugging. This season, 284 with a 490 slugging percentage against. And short starts, this very well may be the case tonight. 5 innings or less in 13 of his 17 starts this season. Watch out, he's also got a bloated ERA in the first inning of 11.02.
A hit for Brinson, who was 0 for 4 in the first game, and that brings up Brian Anderson, who was down to the count 0-1. Anderson 1 for 4 with a run scored. Scored that 3rd run. And now, you know what? We didn't really have a chance to go back, but the play by McNeil, who was at second base in the nightcap with Rojas up and the bases loaded at the peak of his jump, that should have been 2 runs, if not for his great play. And if so, that's more insurance, and maybe the game goes a different way this afternoon. Ifs and buts, however. So middle innings of this game this afternoon, Rojas with an absolute stinger.
And you see, certainly to the height of extension, able to bring it down.
I gave credit to McNeil. It was Reinheimer, but
yeah, he was playing short.
Yeah,
in game 1.
A great play nonetheless.
Absolutely. No, we certainly felt the moment there. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 2 strikes, battling, and Rojas, an absolute rocket. Let's get you the Mets defensively for this evening's ball game. Conforto, Jackson, Nimmo. That's your Mets outfield. Reyes, Rosario, McNeil, and Smith. Nito behind the plate.
So 3-2 on Anderson. Runner goes, swing and a miss, and it gets into center field. Brinson on his way to third, and he will get there easily. So it's a strikeout of Anderson, a stolen base, and an E2.
Now let's take another look. This fastball away off that outside edge. Anderson goes for it for out number 2. Brinson gets a pretty good jump, 3 steps. Not the best of throws. Maybe he would have been out. You see McNeil kind of holding on to that glove as Brinson slides in, but it'll be a stolen base, his 2nd of the season.
Nito behind the plate in the nightcap as Peter O'Brien set to step in.
Peter O'Brien, very impressive first game. Now seen lots of power going the other way. See how O'Brien's approach, if it changes at all against the lefty Vargas, but Vargas, in an odd sort of way, the opposite of maybe what Trevor Richards does. Doesn't have a featured big breaking ball. It's a decent pitch for him, but not a great one. He really is fastball change. Ideally for Vargas, he'd like to double up in lanes, add a little, take a little off, get you off balance and get bad contact. That's ideally what he wants. He's made a few mistakes here this season, and he's been made to pay for them.
Now the 1-1. Anderson, O'Brien rather, takes in the dirt. O'Brien 2 hits and a couple of RBIs. Drove in that 3rd run for the Marlins, in addition to his homer to right center field this afternoon. Doubleheader's always got to be a tough day for the starting pitchers in game 2. I guess in a sense a lot like yesterday, when you're not really sure when you're going to start. You know, it could be 7:05 or 7:10 on a traditional night or whatever it might be, but now the original scheduled time to start this game, like way back when they made the schedule, was 7:10. But once everything got messed up with the weather during the week, and last night specifically, they made this game just a half an hour or 25 minutes or so after the conclusion of game 1. So not even waiting for the original 7:10 first pitch. Brinson away from third as O'Brien is set to see a payoff pitch from Vargas here in the top of the 1st inning, game 2 of this doubleheader and last of a 4-game series. Marlins on the road to Philadelphia after this one. How many Red Bulls is that for you today?
It's just number 2.
That's only the 2nd one?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't have any coffee today there, Mr. Venti.
Well, it's tricked. It was a grande and a venti cup. Get a little extra room. Have to pour it out in the garbage cans.
All right.
O'Brien works the walk, and the Marlins have runners on the corners.
Didn't have time to make my way over to Starbucks this morning, nor did I receive a phone call from my beloved partner saying, hey, Holly, would you like a Starbucks?
I did send you a text to say, are you getting on this bus or what?
Yeah, just because you thought I was still sleeping, I think.
Isaac Galloway, his third home run in the first game this afternoon. 1 for 4 today.
Isaac's done a nice job this season, stepping into some big moments. This could be one here.
And they'll throw back to first, where Bryan is picked off. Took a few steps towards second base, and Nido with a clear shot. A clear lane gets the throw, and everybody's kind of staying put for 1 second. Marlins looking at it. The Mets halfway off the field, and they're going to take a look at it, it seems. Yeah, it looked like,
I think he's back.
I think so too. It looked like Smith tagged the dirt before the glove got the forearm of O'Brien.
I got to tell you what, O'Brien had a very aggressive secondary lead, and I'm not really sure why. We talked about it. He saw him kind of slide off and take really 2 hard steps towards second base, and really got the attention of Nido. Got all of our attention. In fact, Nido double clutched before actually throwing down to first base. That's how big the lead was.
So the first base umpire, Dan Bellino, who is also the crew chief. Tom Hallion behind the plate in the afternoon game. He gets the night off. Is on the horn with New York, not far up the road, and O'Brien is back safely, so the inning continues. While we're at it, Nick Marley behind the plate, Dan Bellino at first, Adam Homari, the second base umpire, Shane Leibensparker over at third. One more look at the tag.
See, the fingers are already on the bag. The tag's still not applied to that right elbow. Now it is, but he's back. You see, they got that right. This is a big moment here. The Marlins look to respond in some ways to what happened in game 1. Marlins have suffered, obviously, a number of tough losses this season, but one thing that we've applauded them for, resiliency, the ability to forget and move on. Have an opportunity here in the first inning to respond. Mentioned the bloated ERA for Vargas. Runners on first and third, 2 outs.
Galloway, fly ball, center field. Austin Jackson racing in, will make the catch. And the Marlins strand a pair in the first. Jeff Brigham back on the mound when we come back. Mets come to the plate. Here is a look at their starting lineup presented to you by Southwest. Much different as Ahmed Rosario leads off. Was not in the starting lineup this afternoon. But some of the same names in there. Todd Frazier, who won it for the Mets, not out there. It's Jose Reyes over at third, hitting in the number 7 spot against Jeff Brigham, making his second major league start, and in some sense just as highly anticipated as his first big league start, because it's been so darn long. Not since the 2nd of September have we seen this guy. He keeps getting pushed back with all kinds of rain and delays and doubleheaders and stuff, but here he is.
Well, he's had some outstanding minor league numbers this year. 10-3 record, 2.36 ERA, mostly at AA and AAA. Just under 100 innings worth of work. I think the one thing that really stands out was the whip, 109. To me, that tells you an awful lot. It tells you how confident he is in his stuff. Also the breaking ball and the fastball command. The ability to throw strikes, because you pair that with what we saw in his first start against the Toronto Blue Jays. 3 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 82 pitches. We did not see that version of Jeff Brigham. I think we're going to see it today, though. I really do.
Out to center field. Brinson is there on the edge of the track to make the catch. Well, depending on who you talk to, whether it was Don Mattingly or Chad Wallach, who caught him that day as he does today, maybe just a case of the jitters. Just one of those days waiting for your big league debut. And you can kind of see it throughout the day. Talking with Starlin Castro, trying to settle him down a little bit. You wait your whole life for that moment. So yeah, he's back on track, and we see the Brigham that the organization has seen throughout this season. As you made the point, a 2.36 ERA across 3 levels of the minor leagues this year.
Well, and listen, you can, if you're watching at home, Marlins fans, you pay attention to his tempo and pace. I mean, some of the things we just showed you really speak to nervous energy. And listen, every ball player goes into a game every day, whether it's the first game of a doubleheader, the second game of a doubleheader, 5 hours and 35 minutes after a rain delay, and you have some adrenaline, you have nervous energy. He clearly has a lot of it. I mean, we saw it in that start. As I mentioned, the reason I brought up the whip, the 109, is that we know he can throw strikes. We know that he trusts his stuff. He averaged 27 pitches an inning in his big league debut. So that's what he's going to have to improve upon. He's going to find the success he wants. Four-seam fastball, slider, and change. Fastball being that 92, 93 mile an hour range, and slider 79 to 91.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Jeff McNeil, who was 0 for 1 this afternoon. StatCast AI powered by AWS. This kind of maybe serves it out to the left side of the infield. Weird breakdown, wouldn't you say?
We got to pinch the defense up the middle, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the lines. Kind of stack everybody in the middle.
It's all right. Brigham's got this one, and the underhand flipped to O'Brien for out number 2.
Yeah, you got to go to the 4-4 right there.
That's right.
Let's get you the Marlins defensively behind Brigham. This can be a good night for this young man. Bostic gets the start in left, Brinson in center, Galloway in right, Anderson, Riddle, Rojas, Bryan earning that start over at first base, and Wallach behind the plate. He's done a good job defensively for the Marlins this season when given some starts behind the plate. Certainly has worked with Brigham in the minor leagues.
Strike to Michael Conforto. The game-tying home run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning off of Kyle Bearclaw this afternoon. And pops this one up. Long run over with the shift for Riddle. Bostic is going to be the one to make the play, however. And a 1-2-3 first inning for Brigham. Not bad at all. Through 1, scoreless. JT Riddle will lead things off. And then Chris Bostic and Chad Wallach. Marlins had a chance in the first against Jason Vargas. 2 on with 2 out, but Vargas able to get Isaac Galloway for the final out as Riddle takes a called strike.
JT 2 for 5 in the series, does have a home run. Real no advantage lefty-righty splits against Vargas. Maybe a little bit more towards the righties, I guess, as far as power is concerned. But lefty's hitting .282 against him. Righty's .314.
So I want you to take me inside the clubhouse because, you know, we've talked about this before. You like the single admission doubleheader, the game that's right back to back.
Yes.
And kind of feels like one game. You've said that,
sure.
right? Kind of feels like one game. So how do you separate how the first game ended when it feels like you are playing the same game?
Well, you don't have any choice but to. I mean, really, because the circumstances don't lend themselves to, you know, sitting there and dwelling on it. You've got to get ready to go. You got to get ready to play again, get a little something in your belly, and move on.
Riddle out to center for Jackson. 1 away.
It really is as simple as that. The focus is on the field for the players, for the pitchers, for everything that's going on. I mean, I think that, you know, sometimes the worst thing that happens in this sport when a player or a pitcher is dealing with some bad energy and some poor results is the fact that they've got to dwell on it. And I think ideally, you know, I know Don Mattingly answered that question in the post game as far as Bear Claw and, you know, obviously the struggles. The issue here is that he is trying to get him right. I mean, that's just the idea. You can't not use him. I mean, I think we all understand the issues and the struggles that he's going for, and we certainly feel for him. But in that situation, that's kind of what everybody wants to question, you know, the answer to that question. But you've got to find spots to where you can get guys in and get them involved and get them re-engaged. Now, listen, it's an awful lot of fun to have fun at this level when you're playing great and everything's going your way, and it's an awful hard time when players struggle. And managers, great managers, are really the ones that know how to nurture those players through those tough times and get them back. So the best thing that could happen, at least in my personal opinion, for the Marlins, 20 minutes in between game, get a new uniform on, and let's go.
Make a quick PB&J
right.
and get back out there on the field.
No point in dwelling on what just happened.
Bostic swings and misses for out number 2 here in the second.
Thank you, fans. We're celebrating you all weekend long, starting on Thursday, September 20th through Sunday, September 23rd, as the Marlins take on the Reds. There will be a special surprise for fans each game during the series, from Throwback Thursday to swag bags and more. More information and to get your tickets, visit marlins.com/fan appreciation.
There's a Marlins fan who's made the trek. He's been around. I believe that's the same guy we saw in Boston, right? He was here a couple of nights ago.
It's a fantastic shirt. I like that.
Right. He had the blazer and the bow tie the other day.
Is that Billy the Marlin on the left side there?
I think it is. A very agile looking Billy the Marlin.
Going up over the fence, maybe.
Nice. Chad Wallach takes a called strike, 0-2. We've seen a number of Marlins fans here in New York this week, sitting through an awful lot of weather, an awful lot of waiting. This one popped up right field, long run in for Nimmo, makes the basket catch along the wall. He looks to be all right as he comes up with it. A 1-2-3 second inning for Vargas.
It always helps to talk to a veteran, and Brigham had the opportunity to do that recently.
I was sitting next to Holiday during the last game, and he broke down to me, what to expect and just like what other teams are looking for, with the signs and with pitches. And he sat with me for 30-45 minutes and really talked me through some of the situations. So it's been really eye-opening experience.
And hopefully he can use some of those pointers today. But guys, always cool to see those older players taking the younger ones under their wings.
Well, that's been, and Jessica, thanks. That's been the beauty of Brian Holiday and just that veteran leadership on this club. A guy who's a catcher who can certainly relate to the position players and the pitchers. And in his role behind JT Realmuto, he's on the bench an awful lot and can impart that wisdom throughout the game as these games are unfolding kind of in real time, if you will.
Well, and that's his role. That's what he does.
Dominic Smith fouls it away.
I think I told you this when I was working it over at MLB Network Radio. We used to talk about this all the time. Like who are some of the guys that you love to talk to as far as the interviews? Who knows the most in a clubhouse? And I would always tell them, I said, the guy who knows the most is your backup catcher. He's in every meeting. He's one of the best listeners. He's one of the best talkers, and he knows exactly what's going on. It's who they are.
That's pretty much it.
Right.
He's got a piece of that one. May have also gotten a piece of the home plate umpire, Nick Marley. Off that right foot. Out to center, Brinson racing in, and that one's going to fall in front. A base hit for Dominic Smith to lead off the second.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go.
There's Brandon Nimmo. 16 homers, 44 RBIs for him in right field. Just made a nice play. Another hit for him today, this afternoon. So now a 19-game on-base streak for Nimmo. So the Marlins were planning on a 6-man rotation at the beginning of this month. Kind of toward the end of August, we had started to hear rumblings they were going to go with a 6-man rotation. So when Brigham started the game on the 2nd, it was going to come around that he was going to start on Sunday in Pittsburgh. Well, that game gets rained out, so he was going to start on Monday in New York. Well, that game gets rained out, and now we start to, in a sense, kind of cater to the veterans a little bit. The Uranians have to get their work in and things of that nature. So he just
generally how it goes.
Yeah, it just keeps getting kind of bumped back a little bit. So every night for what, 3, 4, 5 nights in a row, he's going to bed. Yeah. Another big league start. Right. I get to get back on the horse tomorrow, and then it's maybe not today.
Well, he's young enough; he can handle it.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that there was a heads up before bedtime. High to Nimmo, 4-pitch walk, and the Mets have 2 on. A bus to Philly tonight after the game. Wei-Yin Chen, Zach Eflin, the 2 starting pitchers. First of a 3-game set. Marlins Live pregame show on the air at 6:30. And first pitch a little after 7 at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies are off today, and boy, could they ever use a day off as Austin Jackson steps in. Phillies another loss yesterday to the Washington Nationals. That makes 5 in a row overall. 17 of 23 and 23 of 34. So it's been about a month's worth of struggles for the Philadelphia Phillies, who now find themselves 7.5 back of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if the Nationals win this game, and they're locked up with the Cubs right now at 3-3 in the 8th, and I'm sure the Cubs are pretty excited about that.
No question.
The Nats will leapfrog them in the win column. The Phillies. Wow.
Well, the Phillies, I believe it's 11 or 12 series in a row that they have not won. Not since the sweep of the Marlins a little over a month ago. They have not won a series.
Well, there was one thing that they did particularly well, and unfortunately, since returning home to Citizens Bank Park and to Philly, they have not won. I mean, that's just it. I mean, we talked about this when we saw them in Miami, and you know, some of the things that they were plaguing the team. We talked about the defense, the struggles that they've had defensively, and offensive inconsistency. They have a strong rotation, but you know, one of the problems that they've had is finding ways to win more consistently. They do that at home. They have all season, but since getting back home, they have not. Good time for the Marlins to show up and hopefully maybe snatch a couple wins.
But first things first, get through the Mets and get through this jam. 2 on and nobody out. And now 2 balls and 2 strikes to Austin Jackson. Dominic Smith, the leadoff single on at second, and Nimmo, the walk, is on at first. Jackson 0 for 3, a couple of strikeouts in game 1 this afternoon. Jackson in his 3rd organization this year. Bounced around quite a bit. Started the season with San Francisco, signed in late January, and then traded to Texas, and then was released about a week later. Signed with the Mets. Got off to a good start, but has cooled off a little bit and is frozen for strike 3. First strikeout of the night for Brigham.
Now an effective changeup, the inside part of the plate, little arm side run. I think that's what we saw of him. Yes, I see the fingers up over the ball. Good changeup. That was one pitch he did not really get to establish in start number 1 against the Toronto Blue Jays, just because he was working from behind so often. Nice job. It's a big first out here in the 2nd.
Here's Jose Reyes, 2 on and 1 out. Big swing and a miss. Jose Reyes has been around New York for quite some time. Of course, was part of that 2-headed monster, if you will, with David Wright. And there was some news surrounding David Wright today prior to the first pitch of the opener today. David Wright essentially announcing his retirement in a press conference here at the ballpark, that he will be activated to the roster on September 25th and play in his final game on September 29th. When the Marlins are back in town. So for as sad and for as emotional of a day as that will be for David Wright, for us as baseball fans, it will be nice to see that, because he has had, albeit an injury-riddled last few years, a pretty good career, especially here in New York.
Well, I don't want to speak for you, Paul, but I certainly feel very privileged to get to be a part of that on September 29th and get to see that. I know that we'll obviously be here in the building. You know, he has represented, at least in my personal opinion, a lot of things that are right in the game of baseball, and he has persevered through some serious injuries, and he's continued to try to get himself back out on the field. And watching his press conference today, and I'm telling you, it was a very emotional press conference as he kind of explained his situation and what the immediate future was for him, talking about how he wanted to play in front of his daughter one more time. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, he had been going through some simulated games one of the days that we were here, and yeah, he's been through an awful lot the last few years, and stuck by the organization that has stuck by him. Still has a few years left on that contract, 8 years and $138 million. sure all of the financials will be worked out at a later date. That's certainly not what's most important right now. It's David Wright and getting back on the field for one last time. And I'm sure that when we're here in a couple of weeks again, that will be a very warm welcome and an emotional night. Oh, and 1 to Nito out to right field. And Galloway makes the play. So he gets out of the 2-on no-out jam. Authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Back here at Citi Field, Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, Jessica Blaylock. Vargas will face his counterpart tonight, Brigham, and then Miguel Rojas and Lewis Brinson here in the third of a scoreless game. Each team with a hit to this point. Mets have an error, a Nito throwing error on a stolen base attempt by Lewis Brinson. And a called strike. Swings over the top of it. 0-2. That come from behind win for the New York Mets this afternoon was the first time that they had hit back-to-back home runs to walk off a game. Mickey Callaway mixing and matching a little bit in that ninth inning, but it's Conforto and Frazier to tie it and win it.
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, I just wanted to kind of tie a bow on it, that's all, and then move forward. But that was, thought that was a good note, a first time in history.
It was a good note. I'm just a little salty. I'm sorry.
Well, and Brigham gets his first big league hit. Yeah, clean single right up the middle.
Nothing wrong with that. Great swing of the bat. See Freddie get rid of that baseball. Throw it in the crowd. No, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, look at that balance. Stayed back on his backside.
Miguel Rojas takes ball one. Well, that'll be one of the topics that we talk with Frank Menachino about at the bottom of this inning. The work ethic of a hitter in Jeff Brigham. I'm sure he's working with him countless hours, right? No?
Yes.
Maybe that balance. You talk about that balance. Come on, Holly.
That's my job. I'll talk about the balance. I don't think Frankie's going to give you 2 cents on that.
It's more of a Nieves kind of thing.
Maybe,
right.
right. Maybe a Freddie thing. Hey, why don't you work out? Come on out and we'll work on our bunting and take a little batting practice.
Right. All right. I'm just kidding. But yes, we will chat with Frank Menachino in the bottom of this third inning. A chance to talk with JT Riddle earlier this afternoon during the broadcast. We appreciate the Marlins making their players and their coaches accessible to us. The 2-1 pitch. As Rojas drives it to deep left field, and that one is gone. A home run for Miguel Rojas. A 2-run shot, his 11th, and the Marlins have the lead.
11th home run of the season for Miguel Rojas. My, oh my. You know, maybe, we've been talking a little, well, what's the word? Maybe karma today, right? We were talking about Todd Frazier and line drives and all sorts of things. Well, Miguel Rojas robbed of a line drive base hit in game 1 with the bases loaded. Yeah, why not? Gets a center cut fastball and nearly hits it into the second deck. Nice short compact swing. Nice catch.
That guy's had practice.
A few long balls today, hasn't there?
Well, that guy literally wrote the book on catching home run balls.
Well, I mean,
that's Zach Hampel.
We've also had 3 homers, 4 homers. We got Matt's home run as well, right? Frazier's home run, 5 home runs. All of them have gone out that way.
That's right. Here's Brinson on 0-2.
th home run allowed by Vargas this season in just under 80 innings.
And now Brinson works the count full, 3-2. And one thing you pointed out a few nights ago or a week or so ago, the choking up for Brinson. As he works the walk.
Nice at bat. Come join us at the Clevelander Marlins Park on Saturday, September 22nd. Sample more than 20 different domestic and international brews. Started just $30 when the Marlins take on the Mets. You get early access to the party at the Clevelander Marlins Park. Purchase your tickets at marlins.com/beerfest.
That series against the Reds, the last home series of the year, a 4-game set. Just 6 left at Marlins Park. Of course, the game tonight, 3 against the Phillies, and then home Monday and Tuesday for the Nationals. An off day Wednesday, 4 with the Reds, and that is going to do it for the home portion of the schedule. Just 1 road trip. Washington for 3, and finishing up the series here in New York for a makeup date in Pittsburgh, currently scheduled for October 1st.
TBD.
It's TBD. Time TBD. Scheduled for October 1st.
To be determined.
Foul back, still 0-2. Pirates a game under 500 right now. Fourth strikeout for Vargas, and the first out here in the third. Peter O'Brien threw a free pass back in the first inning, homered this afternoon to right center field. His second extra base hit in a Marlins uniform. First home run. Had a double in Pittsburgh over the weekend. And home run for O'Brien, his first since just a little more than 2 years. Since the 10th of September in 2016 off of Johnny Cueto. That was the last time he was in the big leagues with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Had 5 homers in 28 games with Arizona.
You said the 10th of December, correct?
September.
How about that? Almost to the day.
September. I said September?
Yeah.
You said December. I said
no,
September.
I just said September.
No, you said December.
No, I didn't.
Trust me. You said December.
I'm not going to trust you on this one.
You said December.
Why would I say December?
Because you just misspoke. I do it all the time. I do it literally 650 times a day. Bobby Bonilla makes the catch in right field. See, I just did it right there, just for you.
Bobby's still on the payroll.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
My point merely
right,
being
I understand. Nearly to the day. Exactly.
I don't know why December would have come out of my mouth. I think
it's just misspoke. It's okay. Trust me, you're human. It's fine. I don't hold it against you. I happen to enjoy your company. I'm not, trying to hate on you or anything.
We got Frank Menachino coming up here in a
Well, ask him what month it is. We'll all get on the same page.
Well, I'm afraid to ask him what month it is. You're probably going to rip into him.
I will, trust me. I will not. I will do nothing of the sort. Probably ask him a little bit about Isaac Galloway, who homered this afternoon and waits for an 0-1 pitch, fouls it back 0-2. They'll check. No swing, says first base umpire Dan Bellino. Cut on and missed. That's 5 strikeouts for Vargas. When we come back, we'll talk with Frank Menachino as the Marlins have a 2-0 lead thanks to Miggy. One of the guys that Miguel Rojas has worked an awful lot with this year is Frank Menachino, assistant hitting coach, joins us in the dugout. Frankie, appreciate the time, man. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Kind of like close to home, right? Staten Island?
Yeah, it's about 40 minutes.
Were you at the team hotel or were you like back home with family?
No, I can't go back home. If I go back home and have to get to the field and there's an accident or something, I won't make it. So
a guy who knows New York traffic.
Frank, listen, I talk all the time about all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Like, so you talk about traffic. How long? Like, what time do you show up to the ballpark? Whether we're on the road, whether we're at home, on just a normal day.
12 or 1 o'clock.
That's amazing. And you'll basically stay till the last hitter leaves. How late have you stayed at some points this season? I'm sure you've probably done some overtime with some guys as well.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you'll be sitting down getting ready to eat, and someone will walk in and say, Frank, we got to go in the cage. You got to drop what you're doing. That's why I don't get undressed or anything. I wait and hang around. And sometimes it's just to do work, or sometimes it's just to put the ball on the tee and let them vent their frustration. But it's a full-time job.
So you're the assistant hitting coach here with the Marlins. Was there a guy, a hitting coach, that you really, back in your playing days, really kind of clicked with an awful lot?
You know, back when I played, it was a lot of us players talking all the time, and I played with some great players. And but the one hitting coach you're talking about is probably Mike Barnett. I really clicked with Barnett, and he knew how to calm me down, and he knew how to keep mechanics out of it and stuff. So that's where I learned approach. So, and he would actually just trick you sometimes, into thinking, hey, you're all right. So he just knew how to keep me calm and keep me focused on what ball I was trying to hit.
Well, Frankie, and you and I talk about the psychology all the time about this great game of baseball that we love, and we know how hard hitting is. But I think in this day and age where we talk sabermetrics, launch angle, exit velocity, a lot of these younger kids, boy, they fall in love with it. In fact, they've been trained to listen to this conversation before they even get into pro ball. How difficult is it for you sometimes to maybe even, deal with, well, I'll call it this broader spectrum of hitting?
Well, what it's really teaching these hitters to do now, since a lot of pitchers throw 95 plus and they're seeing a lot of them, what it's basically teaching them is forget about separation, get loaded, go to the spot where you want the ball. And if you hit it, you hit it. If you don't, you try it again. So I'm constantly teaching timing, constantly teaching approach, keeping separation. A guy throws 98 miles an hour. That means you need more information than ever. So you need more separation. You need to start earlier. So, you get back to teaching timing again. And, it's kind of frustrating because if you got to teach timing, man, back in the day, they would say, this guy can't hit. He can't time the ball up. So it's frustrating, and it's a constant battle every day of breaking old habits and training them to get separation and stick to an approach. I mean, even on off speed, you can't start later when you guess off speed.
Right.
You got to start on time all the time, because on off speed you need just as much, if not more, information, because you're going to be moving earlier and the ball is still getting there, but you have to have an approach to where do I want this pitch?
Right.
So you need just as much information on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball as you do a slider.
Frank, let me ask you this. Again, we talk so much and what goes into hitting today, and I think it's clearly so much more than what you and I went into as players and kind of how we dealt with these things. But of course, if you look at baseball over the course of well over 100 years, it's generally quite circular. The game trends in directions, and right now there's no doubt that we're trending in a velocity type of direction. But I think this year we've seen a lot more breaking balls, certainly some guys with some changeups. Is the game changing again, in your opinion?
Well, they're going to go to high fastballs now. They created this launch angle and they created all this swing and home run stuff. Well, guess what? Now they're going to go high fastballs. High fastball, high breaking balls I notice guys are throwing. So we got to get right back on to down on plane.
Right. Talk a little bit about some backspin, if you will. I know it's big. It's a big word for you, and talking about some of the hitters and really kind of, we saw Peter O'Brien. In fact, we had a good backspin on a ball to right field today.
Yeah, I think backspin's getting lost in translation with launch angle, and I'm a big believer in depth determines direction. You could bring a ball anywhere on the plate, but if we start with the one down the middle, you put it out front, you put it a little closer. Now depth determines direction. You can hit a ball down the middle to all fields, line to line. Okay, so when we talk about backspin, we want to be short to the ball and stay through it. And thinking down on plane is the perception of, I'm going to get on top of this ball. Do we ever really get on top? Sometimes. But we want to get on top to stay through. And that's where you're going to create backspin and backspin travels further.
Right.
You know, I mean, if a guy has a launch angle of 29 degrees and hits a ball 110 miles an hour out to left field, and it goes 351 feet, and then you get a guy hitting a ball off the bat 104 with a 9-degree launch angle, it goes 420. What's the common denominator here? One guy had topspin, one guy had backspin. I want backspin.
Absolutely, certainly makes the most sense. All right, well, let me ask you real quick about Brian Anderson. I know he's been a hot topic of conversation. I know a lot of Marlins fans love what this young man has brought to the table this season. He's done a fantastic job, but of course he seems like he's been struggling just a little bit here over maybe the last couple of weeks. I think there's a lot of ingredients that might go into this. Fatigue, tired, that extra month that he's now playing for the first time in his career. As a hitting coach, how do you help Brian Anderson through some of these struggles?
Well, Brian Anderson sometimes has to struggle with himself and his perfection. And I think as the season's winding down, he wants to really end off on a good note. And it's, for me, in my opinion, and I argue with him every day about it, is less is more.
Right.
Okay, he went to Tao, got a fortune cookie. He had the piece of paper in his hand and said, less is more, brought it into me and gave it to me in the cage. And I'm like, you should paste this to your forehead. You know? So, you know, what he's done has been awesome for a rookie. And, you know, Donnie is running him out there every day just to show him what it is to be a big leaguer and an all-star, to play every day and go out there and grind it out. So, you know what? He's learning lessons that we learned our whole career, and it's good for him because he's doing it up here, and I'm sure next year he'll learn and say, I need to know when to put the pedal down and know when to slow down and not worry about it.
Frankie, I think you just need to shoot the player straight a little bit more. Tape it to your forehead.
I love it.
I love it.
Thanks, Frankie.
Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
See ya.
2-0 after 3. For joining us for the bottom of the 3rd inning. PR guys with the Marlins, thanks again for making them available, both Manichino and Riddle, who leads things off here in the top of the 4th inning. It's great to just kind of tee them up and get out of the way and listen to you guys talk hitting.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We do it just about every day behind the cage. Try to do it at least on the road. Haven't been taking nearly as much, obviously, with a lot of the rain here, but, you know, you just get into the mind. I know and I think fans should really hear this. I say this all the time. Your hitting coach is, you know, he's responsible, and the hitters will tell you that's their guy, you know, Pags and Frankie. And, you know, the idea behind this is they're not only your hitting coaches, they're your therapist, they're your best friend, they're your worst enemy. There are a lot of things, you know, during the course of the season. And but most importantly, it's probably the strongest relationship that you need to have, because when it comes to what you do, it starts with the bat for most of these guys, and that's really how they players generally define themselves. My year will be what it needs to be if the numbers are up and I'm having a good offensive season.
That's why I thought it was so interesting when he said that his guy growing up, he would trick me into thinking everything was okay.
Right.
It's a game of failure. JT Riddle grounds out for out number 1.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game where the best around fail 7 times out of 10. And it's a game sometimes where you can square the ball up and it finds a glove, and it can be a very frustrating 6 months or more.
Speaking from experience, I know Frankie can do this as well, but you'll be in that position where you're like, when you're talking to your hitting coach, you're like, what's wrong? What's wrong with me? You're 0 for 10 or whatever, and maybe you've hit 3 line drives, you got a couple walks and 2 or 3 strikeouts in there. Sometimes there's nothing wrong. The game's just happening, and you happen to be on the receiving end of a couple of lineouts and a couple of walks and some offers that are in there, and you're losing sleep at night, and they're like trying to talk you off the ledge, if you know what I mean. And it's like, what's going on? And that's who they are. And when you hear the hours that they put in, I mean that when I say that. He's not kidding around. He's usually to the ballpark at 12 to 1 every day. The reason I bring that up, and again, you and I, we kid about last night, obviously, long rain delay. We got out of here late. We turned right back around. But nothing changes for Frank Menachino and for Pags. They left the ballpark last night, got home the same way we did, maybe later, probably later, did everything that we did, and then came right back to the field 3 hours earlier.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. Waiting for the players to check in, and he's right. They're like doctors. They're constantly on call. They don't have cell phones. They own pagers.
It truly is, at least publicly, a thankless job. I'm
really
sure
is.
that the players are eternally grateful for the hitting coaches, the pitching coaches, in whatever cases they may be, that help them to create a respectable big league career, and in many cases great big league careers.
Oh,
you don't do it alone.
Well, I'll remind many fans of this, and without naming names, but again, very talented offense here in Miami last season. And the point being is, the players that were here still stay in contact with the guys who were here and who were their hitting coaches for very obvious reasons.
Called strike 3. Bostic down looking. There are 2 outs here in the 4th. South Florida Honda dealers have Marlins Live, the pregame show. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, Gabby Sanchez in the studio. After this one, the Marlins continue their 3-city 10-game road trip off to Philadelphia. Wei-Yin Chen, Zach Eflin tomorrow night on the air at 6:30. First pitch, a little after 7. And a hit by pitch, so Chad Wallach will take first base with 2 outs in the 4th inning. That hit by pitch and 2 walks for Vargas.
Get the hot hitting Brigham to the plate.
That's right. His first big league hit last time up. Bunts with 2 outs, and what a catch by Nito. Nito is right. Nice play. We are through 3.5. Pops up the bunt. 2-0. transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic. Stiff joints, aches, and pains. Trust Cleveland Clinic, Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by Simply Healthcare, live the Simply life. A look there at Statue of Liberty. And downtown New York, you see One World Trade in there, the Empire State Building. Paul Severino, Todd Hollingsworth. It's been a fun week. It's been a long week here in the Big Apple, but it has been fun nonetheless.
Well, right. We kind of originally planned for there to be one game every day at night, and that was the way it was supposed to go. And then, you know, yesterday we got to the yard. I think we were going to do 2, and then we found out we were going to do 1, and we ended up being here until this morning. Technically, this is our 3rd game today, really, if you think about it.
It is. Yeah,
I mean,
it did wrap up after midnight.
That's right. So, listen, the Marlins certainly are thrilled to have the lead right now, and they want to hold on to this. I'll tell you what, as I promised, kind of.
Yeah.
Brigham has been pretty good first time through this Mets lineup. He's looked very good. In fact, he's got himself just a tiny bit of trouble, but able to pitch out of it in the 2nd.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately his first start kind of surprised a lot of people because people that had seen him, people that had heard about him, kind of saw and heard a completely different picture than what we saw. And it's nice to see him back on track.
Right. Poise and character, emotional control, a lot of the things, a lot of the key ingredients that obviously you've got to have as a starting pitcher or even as any type of pitcher, really. When you think about what you do and control the game from the mound, what we saw was some of that nervous energy kind of play out. And I think that it translated into a lot of high pitch counts and 82 pitches in nearly 3 innings of work. Now, tonight, here he is in the 4th. At 52, so in a much better position. And I really did, just kind of watching him operate this week, thought that he would be better. I mean, he's kind of engaged with his teammates, kind of sitting around. Even earlier today, you know, you talked about the amount of downtime. He had some nervous energy today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And has been able to channel it pretty well.
Brandon Nimmo takes a called strike, bottom of the zone. Nimmo walked back in the 2nd. To this point, the only walk issued by Brigham. Marlins in front 2-0 here in the bottom of the 4th inning. A 2-run home run from Miguel Rojas. The top of the 3rd. Marlins had a 2-0 lead this afternoon. Mets scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Marlins took the lead. Mets with the walk-off winner as Riddle makes the play next to Rojas. They have a laugh about it. 2 outs here in the 4th. So point being, Miami trying to finish this one off. Still a long way to go and just a 2-run cushion. Try to finish this one off, get out of New York with a split of the 4-game series. They beat Jacob deGrom and the Mets on Tuesday night. Lost last night. There's the 1-0 to Jackson. Swings and misses at 94 miles an hour. Pitch number 60 on the way. Goes to that changeup, 2-2.
It's been a good secondary pitch for him this afternoon, or I should say tonight. I guess the kind of in between. We started at 6.
Don't ask me what time it is, day of the week. I don't even know. I'm just glad these two teams are wearing different colors. Called strike 3. A 1-2-3 4th inning. And the youngster continues to impress. Caught looking.
going to be the 500th home run of a brilliant Major League career.
Oh, look at that. Taking you back in time. Geico presents this day in Major League history. Frank Robinson, the 500 home run club. 9th inning, 3-run homer in Baltimore on this day in 1971. The Orioles played a doubleheader that day, much the same way the Marlins are today. 499 was in Game 1, and number 500 in Game 2 of that doubleheader. Frank Robinson finished with 586 home runs in his career, 10th all-time. Miguel Rojas a little further down on the all-time home run list. However, his 11th of the year, currently the difference in this ballgame.
Career high 11 bombs this season. Let's give you another look in case you missed it. No doubter to left field. Miguel Rojas drop his bat, drop his head, and make his way.
And Vargas gets him at first base. Now Lewis Brinson, single and a stolen base back in the first inning, and walked in the third. That third inning walk, that at bat started 0-2. He was able to work it back to full before ultimately, of course, drawing the walk. As the at bats, the approaches continue to impress the Marlins, and what Lewis Brinson's done these last couple of weeks since coming off the DL / being recalled at the beginning of September. In on the hand, sent out to center field for Austin Jackson. 2 away.
Well, Brian Anderson has had some complications going up against Vargas tonight. See how he changes his approach, if at all, here in the third at bat. Vargas has really just stayed away from Brian Anderson the entire time.
I thought it was fascinating to hear Frank Menachino tell us earlier that, Donnie keeps putting him out there just to teach him what it's like to be a big leaguer. I mean, the good ones, and certainly the Marlins hope and believe that Brian Anderson will become one of the good ones. You don't get to sit when you're 0 for 8 or 0 for 12. You got to play through it.
Well, and you also have to find your way through it. I think that's the key, really. What Frank is saying is that, you're going to go through it, but you got to come through the tunnel.
Struck out to end the 5th inning. Marlins, however, a 2-0 lead halfway home in New York. a supporter of the Wounded Warriors Project, leads things off for the New York Mets. Here in the bottom of the 5th inning, Reyes, Nido, and Vargas. There's a called strike. 4 pretty crisp innings for Jeff Brigham in his 2nd major league start. A couple of strikeouts, both Austin Jackson. But has surrendered just 2 hits to the Mets. A Dominic Smith leadoff single in the 2nd inning, followed by a Nimmo walk, but then a strikeout pop-up lineout got him out of that inning. A leadoff, or excuse me, a 1-out single in the 3rd before working out of that as well. There's Rojas on a hop to get Reyes for the 1st out. Next up, Tomas Nido.
How about that catch right there? Fresh catch of the day, Bonefish Grill. Tremendous effort. Tell you, Brigham was thinking, you know what? I've lined one to center field. I'm going to sneak a bunt in here. And Nido said, no chance.
Nido lined out to right field back in the 2nd inning.
Tell you, here we are in the bottom of the 5th inning. 1 out. Brigham sitting at 67 pitches, Paul, and I'll tell you, with each pitch he throws, you can almost see the confidence rising.
They'll check, no swing.
He's pitched forwards, he's pitched backwards at times. He rung up Jackson twice. That 2nd time, 94-mile-an-hour fastball, almost right down the middle of the plate, surprised him.
Well, it's a matter of more strikes this time, too. I mean, of the 69 pitches he's thrown, 50 have been strikes.
Well, right, you're absolutely right. I mean, those are the numbers that back it all up. But when you read the body language of what Brigham's bringing to the table tonight, I mean, there's no denying what we're seeing. I mean, this is a confident man. You can even see it right there. He didn't make his pitch. He knows it. Communicating with Wallach behind the plate. He's putting the breaking ball where he wants. He's throwing it early in the count. He's wiping some hitters out with it. And that velocity is, interestingly enough, ticked up as this game has gone on. We saw him 92, 93 to start. We've already seen 95 this inning.
On 1-2, Nido with a drive to left. And we've got ourselves a 1-run game.
Well, first home run of the season for Nido. This changeup did not find its mark. In fact, they doubled up on it. I was actually kind of a bit surprised. Missed high with it one time. This one right here literally split the plate. Go all over it. It's now a 2-1 ball game. Tell you what, after this doubleheader, this place is a homer dome. The world's going on around here.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's supposed to be a pitcher's park, but
right,
like I said earlier, I think it might just be the pitchers that are in the park. The DeGroms and the Wheelers and the Syndergaards.
Well, I get it, but I mean, all we've watched all day today is homers.
Yep.
Well, there's not been a whole lot of constructed offense, if you will. Vargas even swinging for the fences. For Nido, first major league home run. That's a big moment for him.
2-1 to Vargas. It's fouled back. Even Vargas is using that broomstick handled bat that we've seen DeGrom and McNeil, I believe it was, use.
It's in 340. If he was actually using a broomstick right now, they'd be up there using a broomstick.
Yeah. It's the bat. It is the bat. You're right. Man. Homer in the single, back-to-back hits with one out in the fifth. Time for the Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight here for Game 2. J.D. Osborne, Class A Greensboro. End of the season, a 6-game hit streak, hitting .381. A 22nd round pick out of Tampa by the Marlins in 2017. Led the way with a .340 average this year for the Grasshoppers. Juan Nieves is out to talk with Brigham. Harlan Garcia up. As Nieves just looking his pitcher in the eyes and see what he's got left. Bouncing back. The home run, the hit. Vargas 1 for 1. Matz a home run today. Wheeler was 2 for 3, and DeGrom 1 for 3. The Mets pitchers doing a nice job at the plate. There's Ahmed Rosario.
Rosario, base hit last time up. 1 for 2 in the ball game. Not going to catch the foul ball if you don't try.
You just want to see a little more effort from those in the front
row. He stood up like he was going to get it, and then the ball came in. He was like, well, my fingers might get pinched between the railing and the baseball, so I better not. And then he was mad at himself. I'm like, well, you got to try for it.
Lowe's whole team together shows last 30 days that the New York Mets offense, with men on base, hitting second best to the Boston Red Sox, who have already punched their ticket to the postseason.
That really explains why they've started to win a few more ball games. Pitching has been relative constant, although a little roller coaster in their bullpen at times. Starting staff has been about as solid as anybody in the game of baseball, and get a chance to win just about every time out. Kind of leaning on that offense to be a little bit more consistent.
They've won 21 of 34 and entered the day with the third best record in the National League since August 7th. 34-game span I'm talking about, as Rosario rips one through the left side for a base hit. That's 3 consecutive hits, and that will bring up Jeff McNeil, who's hitting .333 on the year. Neal was 0 for 1 today. This afternoon, 0 for 2. So 0 for 3, 15 of his last 39, and that is going to do it for Brigham. He is going to leave with 2 on and 1 out in the bottom of the 5th inning. And it's going to be Harlan Garcia, the Florida Lottery call to the bullpen here in Queens. out. The new Monopoly Jackpot scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million, so unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly.
Way to go.
So for my last 2 with that read. I tell you what, I took a swig of water during that break. It's kind of caught in there right now. But I fight through it. You know what I mean? I fight through it. I'm a gamer. So is Harlan Garcia, pitching in his 23rd game this year, on in relief of Jeff Brigham, who leaves this ball game after 4 1/3, 5 hits. The 2 runners on base, of course, his responsibility.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I know Brigham certainly wanted to stay in the ball game, but when you look at how the lineup was constructed for the Mets, I mean, this is the perfect spot, right? You've got McNeil, Conforto, Smith, Nimmo, all lefties right in a row. Big pivotal point in this ball game. The Marlins are clinging to a 1-run lead. Harlan Garcia, 8 career games against the Mets. No earned run average. He's been outstanding. 11 innings of work, including 1 start. He's been good.
McNeil, fly ball left, long run in for Bostic, but runs into that tarp.
Tell you what, I am not a big fan of those 2 little, I guess I'll call them elbows here at Citi Field. My goodness.
Where that wall jumps out.
Well, but it's on both sides of the ballpark, and any corner outfielder not only has to navigate the corner, but look at the tarps right there. I mean, you want to talk about a knee injury waiting to happen.
It's the one down the left field line and the one down the right field line. At least that one doesn't have the tarp. You're right.
We saw Nimmo make the catch earlier in the ball game, and it was a fantastic catch. The whole time I'm watching him run, I'm like, you know, he needs to be careful of his knees. Trying to run and make a catch. Trying to reach that point there. My goodness.
Well, yeah, those walls are padded, but behind the wall is cement. Like, there's no give. So 0-2. Nito home run in this inning. Vargas a base hit. He's on at second, and Rosario a base hit. The runner on at first. Ground ball, Rojas to short, and no. To the shortstop, Riddle, that is, but couldn't turn the 2 on McNeil, who was hustling down the line. First and third, now 2 outs.
Let's take another look. It's a pretty nifty turn. Rojas does a nice job getting rid of it quick. Good strong throw to JT as he comes across second base, and a strong throw back across the diamond. Yet he did just beat it. Tying run at third base.
Michael Conforto takes ball 1 a little low. AARP take on today. Michael Conforto taking on the Marlins. In this series alone, 4 hits, 2 home runs, including the one that tied the game in the 9th inning today. And now this one drilled out to right center field, and that will get down, bounce off the wall. Vargas in easily. McNeil being waved around. Throw from Rojas cut off. And a 2-run double for Michael Conforto has given the Mets a 3-2 lead.
Well, Conforto continues to come through for the Mets in the middle of the lineup in RBI situations here in the second half, driving in runs, hitting home runs. His long double into the right center field gap's going to score 2. It's a breaking ball, center cut, 83 miles an hour. Just split the plate. See the reaction from Chad Wallach. He certainly knows where this ball was supposed to be and where it ended up.
So those runs charged to Brigham. His line is now complete. 4 1/3 and 3 earned runs. Dominic Smith down to the count 0-1.
Dominic, a base hit in the ball game. 1 for 2.
Chopped toward the Mets dugout. 0-2 to Dominic Smith, the Mets first baseman. Pokes it foul. Another 0-2 pitch to Smith. Did he go? They check down at third. No swing. Marlins off to Philadelphia after this. The New York Mets to Boston for a 3-game series. And then they head to Philadelphia and Washington before wrapping up the series at home here against the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, the last 3 games of the regular season. No swing again. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dominic Smith. Smith just continues to get little pieces and little pieces, trying to get a mistake from Garcia.
Smith has been certainly a little bit better here on the homestand for the Mets. His playing time has been sporadic at best. Not really the everyday answer even here in the month of September. He's been splitting time with others. Jay Bruce got the start at first base in game 1. Dominic Smith, part of the problem he's battling right now is he's no longer unique to the Mets system. Power hitting first baseman. They've got that answer. A couple of different forms.
Right.
Interesting to see what the Mets choose to do with him next season.
Well, there were those people last year, all those, wannabe GMs and matchmakers that were saying, well, why don't you try to get Joey Votto over here? An established big league first baseman. Figure you could eat some of that money, or all of it, most of it, whatever you want to work it out, and then part ways with Dominic Smith. But it seems like we're in a place with the game right now where prospects are paramount.
Well,
and it's hard to part with those guys.
Sure it is,
enough.
because they don't cost you nearly the same dollars that the Vottos of the world do. And even when you get into what I like to call predictable production, it's still a huge risk on the organization's part. To allocate 30% of your payroll to one individual.
10th pitch of the at-bat, line to Anderson, and that'll do it. But the Mets score 3 runs in the 5th. O'Brien, Isaac Galloway, JT Riddle due up. Marlins now down a run in the middle innings here. Yeah, that National League playoff picture, whichever way you slice it, is certainly an exciting one. A lot of combinations and permutations of who could end up where and what matchups, in what series, in what wild card games. It'll be a fun last, what are we at, 3 weeks now? 2 weeks? 2 weeks. 2 full weeks.
Well, the Chicago Cubs should at least made their trip worth their while with a 4-3 win. Dodgers up 3-1 in the second over the St. Louis Cardinals.
Now the Dodgers know they've got to win to keep pace with the Rockies, who continue to win overall and at home. As Craig told you, both Story and Arenado home runs today. Both have crossed that 30 homer 100 RBI plateau. So up to the moment it's a 2-game lead, but the Dodgers in progress for Colorado, that is, in the West. Now Milwaukee idle tonight, so the Central is at a 1.5 games. Two to O'Brien. Grounded left side for Rosario.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to FPL.com/beattheheat.
Seth Lugo up for the New York Mets.
Imagine that Vargas on a very short leash here in the 6th.
Galloway to Reyes at third. 2 down. Time for the Toyota Trend. Let's flash you back. Kind of way back. Marlins Mets connections with tonight's starter Jason Vargas back in a Florida Marlins uniform at the old ballpark here in New York, Shea Stadium. 76 players played for both teams. Vargas one of the 32 players, and of course Jose Reyes a season in a Marlins uniform. Pal Cliff Floyd on that list, one of the 16 outfielders. Your teammate back in 2003, Luis Castillo, among the 22 infielders. Nothing to 2 now to Riddle. Well, for an up and down season that Vargas has had, I haven't seen it when he's faced the Marlins. For some reason, he has kicked it into a different gear against his former club.
That's right. That changeup has been working. He's really stayed away with the fastball. See Kinley up in the bullpen.
One, two. Out to right field. But Nimmo has plenty of room. Through 5.5 here at Citi Field. 3-2.
Citi Field is Mikkeller's Brewing. Now, this is a brewery that originated in Denmark, then it made its way to San Diego, and now it's here at Citi Field. This is the only location in the state of New York, and on any given night, you can find 40 to 60 beers on tap, including the Say Hey Sally. So if you come to a game here at Citi Field, you've got to check out Mikkeller's Brewery. This seems like a really fun place to hang out.
Yeah, as long as you're not working. I mean, don't rub it in or anything. Would have been a great spot if we knew we weren't working last night. 5.5-hour rain delay. But I digress. Rafael Ortega in right field.
Probably could have slipped in a visit over there in the 5.5 hours before first pitch.
Responsible. Borderline, but responsible. One pitch, one out. As Tyler Kinley is into the ball game. His 4th game with the Marlins.
And that's right. Don't pay too much attention to The bloated ERA that certainly is on the season, but the Marlins much better. Good stuff. 92-95 on the fastball. Has not walked a hitter.
But a lot of that, a lot of 97. Mid to high 90s.
We saw that his last time out. Kind of started pumping it up a little bit more. You're right.
Ball and a strike to Austin Jackson. And now 1-2. Jackson twice a strikeout victim of the starter, Jeff Brigham. His only 2 strikeouts tonight. And Jackson down on strikes for the third time in the game, 2 away.
Miami join us for our final neighborhood nights 2018. September 22nd, we are inviting residents of Pinecrest to come enjoy an evening at the ballpark. September 23rd, South Miami and Westchester are invited to celebrate their community. For more information, visit marlins.com/neighborhood.
Jose Reyes down the left field line and foul right off the railing, I think. Inside, 97 miles an hour, moves Reyes off the plate, 1-1. Reyes 0 for 2, pop out, ground out. Again, misses inside. Count runs full. Tomas Nido, who homered in the 5th, waits on deck. Payoff pitch misses low and in, and Reyes works the walk. A 2-out base runner for the Mets in the 6th. Nido's home run at the time cut the gap for the Mets to 2-1. His first major league home run. Coors Light refreshing finish is that home run. A changeup that didn't get to its spot.
Yeah, back-to-back changeups up in the zone. That one split the plate and was turned around by Nido. Congratulations to him. That is a home run, first of the season, first of his career.
Popped up, foul territory. O'Brien looks to have room and will make the play for the final out here in the 6th. Marlins down a run going to the 7th. to the top of the 7th here at Citi Field. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, and Jessica Blaylock with you. Some changes. Wilmer Flores, who was actually in the on-deck circle, if the pitcher spot had come up, which it did not, he stays, comes in the game, that is, into second base, and Jeff McNeil over to third with Seth Lugo coming in after 6 innings of work from Jason Vargas. 50th game for Lugo. And he'll face Derek Dietrich off the bench for the Marlins, and then Chad Wallach and Rafael Ortega.
Lugo's done a little bit of everything for the Mets this season. 2.38 ERA in 44 relief outings. He's got 25 relief outings of more than 1 inning this season. He's tied for 4th in Major League Baseball, and I say that now because it kind of smells like you might see another Lugo inning potentially in the next one if he gets through this one. You remember back to the series in Miami. In fact, Lugo did this one time as well. Has to bring a couple of innings of work.
Called strike 3. 96 miles an hour, bottom of the zone. Dietrich is retired for the first out in the 7th.
Lugo dials up the low zone right at the knees, just a bit below.
There's a strike to Chad Wallach. A fly out in the 2nd inning. It was hit by a pitch in the 4th. He's got a piece, fouled it off 0-2.
Now for Lugo, throws hard, 94, 95 miles an hour, 4-seam fastball, so has a sinker, slider, curve, and change. Arsenal of a starter, still uses the entire arsenal. In fact, you just saw the slider. She throws the curveball a little bit more.
th inning of baseball today, right now. That's where we're at. Something like that.
You say so.
Sure. As Lugo strikes out Wallach for the 2nd out here in the 7th inning. Back-to-back strikeouts for a guy who I think looks a little bit like Pat Burrell and a little bit like Ray Liotta.
I see it.
You buy that?
Burrell, for sure. We just saw Pat Burrell at Citizens Bank last time we were through there.
That's right. At their 10-year anniversary of the 2008 World Series championship team.
Right. Yeah, I see that. I see where you're going with that.
And now he's pitching out of the Mets bullpen, apparently.
Changed his name to Lugo.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that we've seen throughout this series, the Mets starters, for the most part, have really set things up for the rest of the team. Just over 27 innings from the starters. DeGrom, Wheeler, Matz, and Vargas. I just said just over 27 innings. They have allowed a total of 13 hits. Marlins hitters.
Drew Rosinski up. Potentially set for the bottom of the 7th. 1-2 to Ortega. Well, the starting staff for the Mets, and this is not just this series, but going back over a month, the last 34 games now, pitching to a sub-3 ERA. Now, DeGrom pitches a lot, but he's not pitching every day. For as great as season that he is having, they are certainly spreading the wealth when it comes to this entire pitching staff. He is the ace, he is the leader of it for sure, but the other guys for the most part falling in line with what DeGrom has been doing. No swing.
wonder if DeGrom feels better about not having the long hair anymore.
Maybe.
Did not go.
Borderline.
How dare you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, it gets hot in the summer here.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because he's in the Cy Young conversation. I guess I'm kind of going along that. Like, got the haircut, and now all of a sudden he's taking it to another level.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Samson.
Yeah. But the opposite.
The opposite.
Yeah,
reverse. Reverse Samson.
Called strike 3. Lugo strikes out the side. We stretch at Citi Field. Joe Madden loves that play.
Don't they call it? It's got a kind of a second name. We call it a safety squeeze. I believe it's been kind of changed to the Madden.
I call it the Madden.
Right.
First and third bunt, I call
he
it the
loves
Madden.
it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a read on the base runners, and it's a well executed play. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Is that the potential 2018 National League MVP putting a bunt down?
Yes. Yes, it was. That was Javier Baez.
Seen it all.
Let's check in with Jessica Blaylock.
Hey, Paul, had a chance to talk to Marlins pitching coach Juan Nieves about Jeff Brigham. Asked him what's the biggest difference that he noticed between tonight and Brigham's last start, and he said that Jeff definitely had more composure and he certainly threw more strikes. He also had a better rhythm and tempo with his delivery, and he did a much better job of keeping that fastball down in the zone. This was certainly a step forward for him, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jessica. I know that was one of the things, the rhythm, the tempo that was maybe a little off tempo, I guess, if you will. His first start.
Well, and I think even if you go back to the start against the Toronto Blue Jays, see Dietrich in left field now, is that in offense, a big league hitter preys on that. When they see sometimes that nervous energy or an anxiety that a pitcher at times can bring to the mound, you get tunnel vision, man. You say, listen, he's not going to throw a whole lot of strikes except balls down the middle of the plate. You sit up there and you just kind of sit up there and wait. And I think tonight what you saw was the ability to use all three pitches. In fact, created value with his changeup, was able to pick up a couple of strikeouts on it. Fastball command was there, and the breaking ball worked much better. Now, did get himself in a little bit of trouble. He's going to have to earn that leash, as we say.
Ball and 2 strikes from Rosinski to Flores in the dirt. For 4 so far in this series for Flores, 11 homers and 50 RBIs. And a guy that is incredibly difficult to strike out. Fights it off. Pitch that wasn't even a strike. Entered the day 39 strikeouts in 418 plate appearances. It's a 9.3 strikeout rate, third lowest in the major leagues for Wilmer Flores. Rolled to short. Riddle makes the play for the first out. Back to the top of the lineup for Ahmed Rosario. Rosario, a couple of hits today, 33 multi-hit games this year. That leads the team. Nothing in two.
Good slider. Brzezinski seemed pretty gripped the splitty.
The 0-2 pitch misses upstairs at 95 miles an hour. A ball and two strikes to Rosario. Popped up behind home plate for Wallach, but he won't have a play. The 2-2. Punched into right field. A base hit for Rosario. A three-hit night for the Mets shortstop. Time for the Toyota inside look. A history of double headers between the Marlins and the Mets. There have been 47 double headers in Marlins history, and they have been swept 11 times, trying to avoid a 12th. A little work to do here. Down a run with a couple of at-bats left.
The Mets have played 495 doubleheaders in their history.
Well, they don't have a roof.
That's a good point.
That's why. Only half of the Marlins schedule can be affected the last few years.
Well, keep an eye on Rosario. He's been running an awful lot more here in the second half. 12 stolen bases. He will run.
Overall, 18 stolen bases. That's a career high. And the last Met to have more than 18 steals age 22 or younger, is Rosario's teammate, and in terms of the base stealing, a bit of a mentor. Jose Reyes, he's on the move. Ball is chopped wide of the mound, and no play for Rojas. Tries second, but Rosario back.
All right, Rosario on the move. Rucinski off the mound, tries to come up with it. Slows that baseball down just enough to kind of put it in no man's land. Watch Rojas. Really all he's got is a bare hand play, and no play at first. With one out, the Mets with a runner into scoring position.
For the dangerous Michael Conforto, whose two-run double in the 5th inning gave the Mets their 3-2 lead. Marlins have 3 infielders on the right side of the infield. Riddle playing closest to the bag. Hoping, if possible, if there's a ground ball, that they could turn a double play and get out of this inning. Here's the 1-1 to Conforto, a called strike at the bottom of the zone.
Yeah, good cutter. Started him off with one, went fastball away, and then back to the cutter again.
Here's Rucinski's 1-2 pitch. Line, base hit right field. Rosario's got wheels on his way in to score on a RBI single by Conforto, 4-2.
Yeah, 3rd RBI of the game for Conforto. He stays hot. Base hit. Turns on a fastball and rips it into right. That swing certainly much more under control here in the 2nd half for Conforto. I'm sure directly connected to the results that he has been getting. Mentioned after the double, he has been a major run producer for the Mets. McNeil made his way over to 3rd base, so an identical situation is in front of the Marlins once again. Runners on 1st and 3rd. Now Dow chasing 2.
So it's Dominic Smith, single back in the 2nd, a fly out and a line out. Back to the screen, 0-1. 4 1/3 tonight from Brigham. 3 earned runs, 2/3 of an inning from Harlan Garcia. 1 scoreless from Kinley. And now Rucinski here in the 7th. Hey, nice play by O'Brien. The flip to Rosinski to get the out at first. Nicely done by Peter O'Brien to get to the ball and to get the out, but a run will score and make it 5-2 New York.
Well, no doubt about it. This top spin was going to make its way. It certainly looked like it was going to make its way through. Rojas might have been in position, but I'll tell you what, regardless, Peter O'Brien, one heck of a play. Flip to Rosinski. The second out.
But the Mets have scored 2 runs in this 7th inning. Nimmo will get the intentional walk. Set up a force at any base for Austin Jackson. Jackson 0 for 3. 3 strikeouts tonight. To O'Brien, a much easier play this time around. Makes the play, and the inning is over, but the Mets score a couple more, made it 5-2. Just the wordsmith that Minervini. Appreciate it, Craig. And nice work back in the studio. I know you guys sat around a pregame show yesterday for a game that didn't happen for another 6 hours. A postgame show too. So excellent work back home, and then the double dip today. So appreciate the hard work back home at the shop. Our crew here in New York working hard. A couple of essentially doubles, even though it was only 3 games played in 2 days. As Miguel Rojas leads off the 8th inning.
Well, you may never do this again. You better.
Why? Is my job in jeopardy?
No.
Do you know something I don't?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Mister, let me finish. You did 3 games today, technically.
Oh, you're right.
That's right. I mean, you may do this for the rest of your life and still may never do 3 games in one day again.
You know, last night I'll bring it up again now, only because I think when I brought it up it was a little later, so maybe it's a different audience. You get into September, you've got the expanded rosters.
Right.
You get into these situations where, you know, maybe we're not coming back to this city or that city, or no mutual days off. What about a triple header, 7 innings apiece? If it's 2 games, it's 9. But if you play 3 games, 7 innings apiece.
Well,
it's 21 innings compared to the 18 of a doubleheader.
I understand what you're saying, and I guess what I would open my mind to is the idea, but what you're not thinking of is probably the variables, the unknown, the extra inning game that happens on the first game that's 7 innings and goes 15 innings. All of those things would certainly add up. I mean, that's not something that would happen. I get what you're saying. Like in theory, it makes sense, but you're also
you get your
saying
record screwed up too, maybe.
Well,
maybe,
a lot happens in 3 games. I guess my point is that you always have to remember the variables, and that's what they're, you know, we talked about this a little bit last night with the rain in regards to the starting pitching. Right. So, you know, we take this all the way back, and I certainly went on a rant today on the pregame show about why this is way too long to make people wait 5.5 hours. But you go back to the original reasoning behind the game being suspended or you know, the tarp coming on the field 20 minutes before was because you were actually caring for the starters. I mean, you can't lose that perspective, because that's actually what's going on. They don't want to get those guys fired up and shut them back down and get them fired. You know, you potentially could hurt them.
Right.
And that's not what they're doing. They're looking to avoid any injury. They're you know, they had the interests of the players at heart, and I think in mind when it started. But as we went 5.5 hours, we all got a little surly, if you will.
Maybe you did. I was just fine.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and speak for you on this one. You got surly.
I might have.
You're not backing down from that.
I may have. I don't know.
Manage your dream team in franchise mode, plus get weekly stats, roster updates, and more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone. Well, Lugo continues to move on in his second inning of work.
It's 4 consecutive strikeouts and a strike 1 to Lewis Brinson.
The Arsenal on full display. We've seen the slider, we've seen the curveball, we've seen the sinker and 4-seam fastball, high velocity. That would be the changeup at 89 miles an hour.
Brinson a single and a stolen base in the first inning, walked in the third, flew out in the fifth. Officially 0 for 1. 0 for 2, rather. All right, so you're saying he's 1 for 2?
He should be if you got a hit.
If you got a hit, that's a 1. And 2 at bats, that's a 2. Okay, yeah, no, I see your logic there. Yep. Swung on and missed. 5 consecutive strikeouts for Lugo.
Now what Lugo does really can frustrate hitters. You know, he spans the strike zone at a time late in the count with the fastball. You're going to see 96 up and away off the plate. What he does, because he possesses good velocity in the fastball, it's those secondary pitches that really hitters are guarding against. The good slider, the good curveball, and the change, and you've seen them all already on display. 2 strikes, you become very defensive against him.
The 2-0. Tap foul. 2-1.
That's a pretty good tell right there of where Lugo is at. Fell behind 2-0, went right to the slider to pick up a swinging strike. 5 outs, 5 strikeouts. Only 29 pitches. This will be number 30.
Hey, a base hit through the right side for Brian Anderson.
nice at bat for BA. Struggling a little bit earlier this evening. Gets a fastball up. Lines it into right. First hit of the night.
Snaps a string of 5 consecutive strikeouts for Lugo. Strike to Peter O'Brien. 1-1. Low and away, 2-1. In on the hands, 3 balls and a strike to Peter O'Brien. Three-two with 2 outs will give Anderson a head start as O'Brien pops this one up near the Marlins dugout, and Neal won't have room. The center for Austin Jackson. And that'll do it for the top of the 8th. 5-2. road trip a little further south on I-95 for a 3-game set with the Philadelphia Phillies. Friday and Saturday nights on the air with Marlins Live pregame show at 6:30. Sunday, a 1:35 first pitch, so on the air at 1 o'clock. Last time we'll see the Phillies this year. And the Marlins will look to keep the Phillies ice cold. Phillies have certainly fallen out of that, not completely, not mathematically, but certainly not helping themselves the last couple of weeks in terms of the National League East. Wei-Yin Chen and Zach Eflin, the 2 starting pitchers in the opener of that 3-game set tomorrow night at Citizens Bank Park. Eliezer Hernandez is out to pitch the bottom of the 8th inning. 29th game for him. He's been in the rotation, made a handful of starts. He's worked out of the pen. And will face Reinheimer to lead things off here in the 8th.
Well, Reinheimer 0 for 2 pinch hitting this season, 0 for 3 in his career. Lefty's hitting .299 against Hernandez. Righty's .254.
Fly ball left center field. Dietrich gives way to Brinson. Tomas Nido, his first big league home run, came back in the 5th inning. He's only hit in 3 trips. And a line drive right at Anderson for the 2nd out. Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. Last 25 years, the team winning game 1 of a doubleheader has won game 2 a little less than half the time. And right now, the Mets in a position to do that. Marlins will have a chance in the 9th inning. Strike to Flores. It'll be the pitcher spot. JT Riddle and Derek Dietrich due up for the Marlins in the 9th inning.
A good changeup from Hernandez. Arm side run, good depth.
Robert Gazelman. Flores grounded out in his first at-bat back in the 7th inning. And a swing and a miss. To the ninth, 5-2. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Buy Kubota. For information or to find a Kubota dealer near you, go to gokubota.com and buy your South Florida Honda dealers. Marlins down 5-2 as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, Jessica Blaylock with you. Long day of baseball. Mets won the opener. Back-to-back home runs to walk the Marlins off this afternoon. Marlins out to a 2-0 lead in the 3rd, but 3 in the 5th, 2 in the 7th for the Mets tonight. And Robert Gazelman is in looking for his 11th save of the year.
Yeah, 63rd game on the season, 4.08 ERA. Sinker slider. There's a curve and a change as well. The sinker slider combination is primarily where he goes.
Starlin Castro to pinch hit in the pitcher spot. And JT Riddle and Derek Dietrich. Six innings and 2 runs, 7 strikeouts for the starter Vargas. 2 innings, 5 strikeouts for Seth Lugo.
This is just the second pinch hit appearance for Starlin Castro here in 2018. 0 for 1. 6 for 24 in his career.
Castro bloops one foul down the right field line. Still 1-2. Gazelman deals to Castro. Swung on and missed. And that's the first out in the 9th.
And goes to the curveball, the 82-mile-an-hour curveball, throws it out over the plate and lets it work. Makes its way down to the bottom of the strike zone.
And Justino still here. Was here last night through a 5.5-hour rain delay. Sat through the game, was here early today. Jessica had a chance to catch up with him. A loyal Marlins fan who actually got a signed ball today, too. So,
Brian Holiday obliged. Well, the strikeouts have been an issue, particularly here late in this ball game. Now 13 in the game for the Marlins.
Riddle and O'Brien, the only 2 Marlins who have not struck out today, and that will continue here, although it is the second out of the 9th. Derek Dietrich, the last hope. Struck out in his first at-bat back in the 7th inning. And was able to get out of the way of that one. In his kitchen, 1-0.
Dietrich hitting .268 on the season, 16 homers, 45 RBIs.
Two balls and a strike now. Three and one. JT Realmuto has moved into the on-deck circle. Chad Wallach due up next. And Dietrich walks. There's JT Realmuto. 1 on 2 out here in the 9th inning. First one back to the screen. Tying run, of course, still on deck. It's Rafael Ortega right now. JT's job just keep the line moving somehow, some way. Out to left field. Late break by Conforto, who makes the catch. Well, Conforto doing just about everything in this ball game for the Mets. Couple of hits, 3 RBIs, and this catch to end it.
Yeah, about a foot off the ground. 1-step drop, but he calls it off. Rosario out of the way, and this ball game over. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Came up with the biggest hits in this ball game, and the Mets bullpen iced it between Gesellman and Lugo. Shut down innings.
5-2 Mets win it. Again, thanks to our crew here in New York for a couple of long days. Marlins Live postgame show up next.